Robert, delighted to have you here. Why don't you start off by telling everyone a little bit more about who you are and what you do?
Yeah, great to be here with you today, Adam. And yeah, I mean, I got into the care home sector completely by accident. But once I was in it, if you like, by accident, and opened my first care home in sort of June 1989.
Mm.
Um, uh, the care home sector is all about people and property, and I like people and I like property, and so it was. Although it was accidental, it became something that I really grew to like and still like very much, and I have still got the energy and enthusiasm for the next 5 years of strategy that we've just recently put together for Renaissance Care. I mean, as you mentioned, I've got the T-shirt, but I haven't got any hair left. So there are some downsides. Is I've got the T-shirt, but I haven't got the hair. I mean, it being an entrepreneur is a stressful thing. It's definitely not for everyone. But one of the things that my father used to say to me when I started out as an entrepreneur, he was an entrepreneur, but was he used to say to me, "Look, never be afraid as an entrepreneur to surround yourself with people smarter than you." And I've never had a problem doing that in my business career, and I do it in all the things that I'm involved in, whether it's political think tanks or charitable work, or with Macmillan. I'm a UK ambassador for Macmillan Cancer Support, or in any of the businesses I'm involved in, which are not just the care home sector, but I have business interests in webcam security monitoring business that I have with two friends, and a number of other business interests. Is working with smart people not only is a no-brainer, I think it's a no-brainer from my point of view, but it also means you have to raise your game if you're working with really smart people. And I certainly find that does is good for me, and it's good for the business. And I'm very fortunate to have been in the sector for a long time, and I think the period of COVID was a period where I've never been prouder of being a part and being involved in the care home sector more than during that period of COVID. These guys, the staff at the front line, were true heroes, and we owe them a lot. And I was really proud to be doing as much as I could during COVID to support them and help them in the background, but both with support and funding to enable them to keep as safe as possible and to continue to deliver a good level of care.
Absolutely. And tell me, in terms of what you've learned over these years in terms of building a successful team. What are some of the main essential tips that you would like to convey?
Yeah, well, I suppose one of the reasons why I'm still doing today what I've been doing for a number of years is exactly that. Building teams is something that I get a huge amount of, if you like, kick from, and a huge amount of pleasure from. I mean, it doesn't always work, but when you have wrong putting A with Z sometimes works, sometimes doesn't. But building teams is one of the most satisfying parts, and it's one of the reasons why I still do it at my age and after so many years of doing it. But it's key to, on this multi-site, trying to grow a business when you're looking at it, is there's a few things that are essential, and I've tried with Renaissance Care to, if you like, learn the lessons from Four Seasons that I felt we could have done better, and trying to do it differently and work smarter. And they are, in the main, investing in putting together the senior management team ahead of requirement, instead of getting the acquisitions in the door and then worrying about putting together a senior management team. You need to invest in putting your senior management team in place. Now, that was important to do pre-COVID, but post-COVID, where it's a lower margin business, I feel, than post-COVID and pre-COVID. And so it's even more essential that you invest in having your senior management team in place and their feet under the table ahead of the acquisitions coming in the door. And another two, if you like, lessons learned that are related to that are, you must have your operational and financial management systems. You must focus on working smarter and make as much use of the available technology that we currently are very fortunate to have in 2024, to actually work smarter and to make really good use of technology. It does deliver, it really does help deliver better quality of care, which is, after all, something that is core to what we're about. And also, when you're talking about multi-sites, is try and have as few outliers as possible. Try and expand in clusters. And I know that sometimes a cluster begins with one, and then you bolt on some acquisitions to that. But if you have, as we have at Renaissance, 5 homes in Aberdeen, so we have a maintenance person in each of those 5 homes. And that means we have a maintenance team in Aberdeen of 5 that we can throw, within sort of 5 minutes notice, we can throw 5 people at a particular problem. And also we have each of those 5 care homes that we have in Aberdeen has their own staff bank, but then there is an umbrella Aberdeen bank that can be shared amongst the homes as well. So senior management team ahead of requirement, management and financial, operational management and financial.
Can I ask you, Robert, can I just ask you one question? We just can go back to that senior management team. So we're talking about operations, finance,
clinical governance.
Clinical governance. Would that be HR as well? Would they be? Yeah. And
HR, marketing and communications as well.
Yeah.
Property management, which is key. So property management, communications and marketing, HR, operational, clinical governance.
Yeah.
These are all that you need to invest in those and put those in place ahead of requirement. And there's a cost to that, obviously.
Yeah. And how have you gone about finding the right people for those roles?
That's an interesting one. We of late are very fortunate over the last few years that we have people coming to us knocking on our door, saying they've heard good things about Renaissance Care, about our flexible working that we've introduced. Well, that was in April 2022,
Yeah.
coming out of COVID. We introduced flexible working, and that's something that has played a large part in our staff attrition rate being as low as 12%, which again, if agency is 1 to 2% and staff attrition is 12%, what that leads to is a better quality of care delivered to the elderly residents in your care. And again, that is core. It all comes back to how do you enable yourself to deliver a better quality of care, and so it all comes back to that.
Yeah. Sometimes when sometimes when on this podcast, and you hear about the importance that we're talking about here today, the I guess the culture of you as a care provider, the culture of working, how you look after your staff, etc., etc. Sometimes it makes it all, and that ultimately helps you deliver great care. It sometimes makes it all sound so easy, but of course it's not. But
it's
that
not.
I know. But my question is following from this one. So the senior management team that you talk about help you and ultimately delivering themselves the high quality teams that enable you to deliver your care. So I'm curious to know about the setting. We've touched about it here, but the culture of working with Renaissance Care and the culture of working with a big care provider that enables you to. I hear it's not always about pay. It's about what's it like to be part of an organization that's delivering care for residents. So, go on. I'm curious to know a little bit more about that.
Yeah, I mean, we're a private company, but we are in the main providing a public service because currently we're about 32% private funders and 68% local authority. And within that structure, there's a limit to what we can do with pay because, if you like, the government are our main customer, 68%. And so we would love to pay our staff more if we got closer to a true cost of care from the government. And that's something that obviously the sector strives and campaigns for, and quite rightly. But if when we're there's lots of other things beyond pay. The work environment, the way you value the people that work for you, the way you listen to them, and you support them in lots of ways other than just the pay. Because with that kind of 68-32% split, there's a limit to what we can do. We do the best we can. We'd love to pay our staff more, but if our major customer won't pay the true cost of care, then we have to manage within the constraints that exist. But it is a people business, and our biggest asset as a company is without doubt the 1,300 staff that work for the company, and without them, we've got nothing. We haven't got this.
And give me a little bit more insight, Robert, if you could, about how you're keeping those 1,300 people happy, how you try to keep them happy, how you endeavour to keep them motivated, enjoying coming into work every day, and delivering care. Some insights.
And within that, it's worth, before I answer that question, it's worth pointing out that about it's pretty much 25% of our 1,300 staff are non-UK. And so, valuing staff, helping them develop and grow, and giving them as many of them as are interested in a career development path and helping them on that way. And that 25% of the 1,300 that are, which is over 300, that are non-UK, working with and helping and holding their hands through the maze that is all the visa documentation, and make sure that they don't fall through any paperwork cracks that and get into trouble that way. So yeah, the bottom line is important, because if you don't make a profit, you can't pay your tax and reinvest in new laundry equipment, kitchen equipment, carpets, curtains, furniture, etc. So you need to make a profit, yes, but it's not. We're not solely driven, because we're lucky that we're a family-owned business, mainly owned by me and my kids. That one of whom works full-time in the business.
All right.
Two others have worked at varying stages for varying periods of time in the business. They're off doing other things. But in fact, my eldest daughter is HR director of of the company, and we have some interesting ding dong
as you should
discussions. As you should. She doesn't hold back, and I wouldn't want her to otherwise. But at all. I'm very proud of her and very happy with that ding dong. I mean, I'm not involved in the day-to-day of Renaissance Care. We're back to surrounding yourself with people smarter or cleverer than you. I've put the strategy and the vision together for Renaissance Care. And then I have to sell that strategy and vision to the senior management team, because they've got to deliver it at the coalface day in, day out. So I have to sell it. I come up with it and sell it to them. And then I work with my finance director on the funding of acquisitions and the business. And I work with my group property manager on developments, on improvements, refurbishments, etc. And I work with my group communications and marketing manager on getting the right word out there, mainly focusing on not the bigger picture stuff, but it's lots of small good news stories in local press.
Yes.
In each of the areas that we have care homes throughout Scotland. I work with her at developing good news stories for local press.
That's nice.
That's the focus. So and also recruiting the senior. I'm key involved in, but we're touch wood, we are complete as a senior management team at the moment. So recruiting the senior management team, strategy and vision, recruiting the senior management team, and I'm in a supporting role of, now we're the size we are, I'm in a supporting role to very good people in these other areas. And I suppose the other area that is probably my biggest area at the moment is acquisitions. I tend to take the lead in acquisitions, and I work with my two non-exec directors. One is an ex-finance director of a 25 care home group, and the other is an ex-operations managing director, used to run 150 care homes throughout England and Scotland.
Yes.
And I work with my two non-exec directors identifying off-market acquisition opportunities. And if the three of us feel it's something that's would be a good fit for Renaissance Care, then we get our executive team involved in it. And then only if they're keen on bringing it into the Renaissance Care family, then do we press ahead. Because there's no point sort of saying to them, right, on the 1st of August, you're going to be getting X home to run and that home to run. It's not, it's about doing it. You won't recruit good people and keep good managers and people for your team if you're sort of dictating to them continually. You need to involve them. You cannot successfully scale any business without delegating important decision making to senior management teams. You can't do it. And sometimes that suits entrepreneurs that just want to have a business that is all revolving around them, and that's fine. But it's much more satisfying seeing building teams, seeing team members grow and develop is one of the most exciting and certainly rewarding things that I've been involved in, and it's interesting to see how it develops between individuals in the team, and also getting the mix right. That's what I do. But I like to get on with it and not having sold the strategy and vision to them. And if I can't sell it to them, we'll tweak it. I mean, they get an input into that. I don't lay down the strategy and vision and say, that's it, take it or leave it. I have to sell it to them. And so I'm tested, and that's something that again is good for the business. And my non-exec directors will say to me, why are you wanting to do this? Surely doing X and Y over here would be better than doing A and B over there. And I like being stress tested by my non-execs and by the executive team over, why are we doing this? Why are you so set on doing this acquisition as opposed to that acquisition? And it's all good for, it doesn't guarantee success, but it, in my view, reduces or increases the chance of success and reduces, we all make acquisitions that maybe we would say, well, I wish we hadn't done that. But you live and learn and dust yourself off and move on.
And Robert, I'm curious, tell me about kind of mistakes that maybe you feel you've made and you've kind of learned from. The reason why I ask that is that, again, for listeners, just to help them avoid making those kind of mistakes.
Well, I mean, again, another one of my father's sayings is, he did say to me that you'll learn more from your mistakes and your successes. But equally, he was always very keen to say to me, and it wasn't his saying, it was somebody else's, but he was always using it, that, look, life is not a dress rehearsal. This is it. So go for it and leave everything out on the field. And that's certainly something that I still to this day feel that you make mistakes in acquisitions when things don't quite turn out as planned, or in senior management hires that don't quite work out. But the key thing is to, once you've given it the best shot, is to accept that, look, this isn't working. I think we should part company and move on. And that includes potentially selling a home, or at worst case scenario, closing a home and turning the property into an alternative use value. We have done and are looking at doing that, in fact, at one home at the moment, and turning it into specialist care, which is something that we have.
Right.
We have specialist care knowledge and experience in our senior management team, but we don't at the moment have specialist care. We're looking at opening a Huntington's unit, and we're also looking at opening a head injuries unit as well.
I see,
and it's something that I've been keen on doing for a while, and we're close to making that happen, which I'm very excited about.
Well, I see. Great. Robert, this has been fabulous. Now, is there anything that we've not covered up to now that you specifically want to make sure that you cover?
I mean, in some ways, it's sort of advice for youngsters. I was very honoured to get an honorary doctorate last year from my old university, and had the actually quite stressful but still rewarding task of speaking to the assembled graduates. And I did spend a lot of time on that sort of 7 or 8 minute speech, I think it was. But and one of the things I was, and it's something I do go part of a charity called Speakers for Schools, and I do speak at secondary school, mainly state secondary schools in Scotland, encouraging them to consider a career in business or entrepreneurship. And I do say to them, find something that you do, rightly or wrongly, spend a lot of time working in your life. So find something you're passionate about and enjoy, and work hard at that, and things will happen. And I did like Barack Obama's quote recently when he was speaking to a conference of young people, where he said, learn how to get things done, and it will be, don't worry, it will be noticed. So a combination of learn how to get things done, and that will be noticed by your peers in your organization, but also, because we spend so much time of our lives working, pick something that you're passionate about and that you enjoy, and work hard at that, and opportunities and things will happen. It's a great sector, the care home sector, and I've thoroughly enjoyed, although I came into it by accident, I've thoroughly enjoyed my the roller coaster ride, if you like, that I've had in 36 years. I may have no hair after 36 years of the roller coaster ride, but I feel enriched by the experiences, friendships that I've had, and have enduring friendships over that long association with the sector. And I look forward to many more years in the future in the sector, because these are wonderful people that work in this sector, and it means a lot more to them than just a job. As we saw during COVID, these amazing staff at the front line are looking after their second families, and anything I can do to, in my small way, to improve and gain more support for them, both financially and in other ways, to allow them to do their amazing job slightly better is a purpose and a cause, and it drives me every day, and I'm excited about the future. I'm a glass half full person. I know we've got lots of challenges in the sector, but the demographics, underlying demographics, are good for the sector. And I'm a glass half full person as opposed to a glass half empty. And I'm positive about the future for the sector, and I'm excited about what the future holds, and bring it on.
That's great, Robert. Thank you so much. Now, but finally, if people want to, if you're happy for that, pick your brains on anything, how can they best contact you?
By either on social media, on either through LinkedIn or by email. In fact, I think both my if they Google me, on my Dow Investments, my holding company website, Dow Investments website, has got, I'm pretty sure it's got my mobile number and my email address, or one of my email addresses, on it. And I mean, I do a fair amount of mentoring for younger entrepreneurs.
All right.
And that is very much not a one-way traffic. I get as much from that process and doing that as they seem to get from me. I get from them. You come back from doing that, having an afternoon session doing that, and you come back to your own business interest with that youthful energy and enthusiasm that you've just seen in action, and you bring that back into your own businesses. And no, I enjoy it, and I've made a commitment to do more of that going forward, and I'm very excited about that as well.
That's great, Robert. Thank you so much for being on the KSCO Success Stories podcast.
It's a pleasure, Adam. Thank you very much for inviting me.